Namaste. How are you guys doing? Today I am going to demonstrate how to start 2 at a time magic loop socks from the toe up. So as you remember, I had made one sample each of these colorways of mine. This is the Gryffindor colorway from the Harry Potter series, and this is the Perry colorway, one of my first self-striping yarns. So today I'm going to make the other two to complete these pairs, and I have these already caked up. If you can see here, they have been already caked up. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is how to start them from the toe up 2 at a time on a long circular needle. So I'm going to be using US 1 2.25 millimeter needle, and this is my collage square needle, and I really love how these needles are so comfortable in the hand and they provide great stitch definition. So this is a 40-inch cord, and it'll be plenty to make the socks 2 at a time. So here goes. I'm going to be starting with these two colorways, so it will be easy for you to see where the two socks are on the needles. So this is my Perry and this is my Gryffindor. In order to start, I'll be starting with one color, and what I need to do is make a slip knot. So I'm going to be making a slip knot just like so. I'm using the smaller end, taking it through my index, twisting, and then bringing it under. So that's my first slip knot, right? The first yarn, which is my Gryffindor yarn. And I'm going to tighten it by holding the two ends together. All right. And then I'm going to shorten the knot, okay? Now what I have to do is make sure there are no tangles, and I'll hold my two needles parallel to each other where the slip knot is on the top needle, right over there, okay? And now I need to start as per my toe up sock recipe. You can find that in the links below in my Ravelry store. So just all the numbers are given there. I'm going to be starting with the Turkish cast on today, and that is a very simple cast on. I have a single video for that, but in this video I'm going to demonstrate how I do the two socks together from the start. So I'll hold that slip knot over there, put my index finger from the right hand, and then wrap my needle half of the number of stitches I want, half the times the number of stitches I want. So if I need 24 stitches to start the socks, I will wrap my yarn 12 times. And that slip knot is not counted as one of the stitches. So I'm wrapping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, holding that with the right hand, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then pushing it inside and holding it with my index finger. Alrighty, so now comes the second yarn that I need to start with. Alright, so the same thing here. I'm going to push these two in like that and keep holding that yarn. Remember not to pull that too tight because you need to have these stitches comfortably on the needles, okay? Now next yarn, I'm going to make a slip knot again with the next yarn, which is my Perry colorway, the same way, and I'm going to use my top needle to mount that slip knot, and making sure I'm not slipping the stitch, not splitting the stitch, I mean. So there is my top needle, and I'm going to tighten the knot right? And then I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So I'm going to make 12 wraps by holding that knot with my index finger of the right hand and then making 12 wraps again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So those are my 12 wraps on both the yarns. If you see, those are both my yarns. Now I'm going to turn these needles 180 degrees and then I have to start knitting. So in order to start knitting, I will pull the bottom needle out gently because I've already wrapped the stitches. So this needs to be a bit gentle. Now that I have this needle out, I'm going to gently pull it through. Not all the way because we want that leg to be able to do magic loop. So I'm going to gently pull it through in order to start my knitting. In order to start, I simply bring that long the ball end of the yarn under the wire, put my needle on, through the first stitch as if to knit, and then just simply start knitting. So that's stitch number 1, stitch number 2, stitch number 3, and this needs to be comfortable. Do not tighten it too much because the needles have to go through. Okay, so since I needed 24 stitches in total, I'm going to do half of the first round like this with 12 stitches on yarn number 2 because that was the Perry colorway. So 2 will come first when you turn your stitches around, okay? And that is the last stitch, right? So now without turning the needles, we are going to start knitting with the first yarn, and this is how we're going to do it. Let me pull a little bit out. So I'm going to simply start knitting with the new yarn, right? And this wrap has traveled somehow all the way through, so I'm just going to bring it back here where it belongs and start knitting. So being sure this yarn does not twist with the first one, right? Those yarns should not be tangled. We don't need to join, we don't want to join the two socks together, so we need to keep them out of each other's way. So simply start knitting stitch number 1, stitch number 2, and so on until all the 12 stitches are done. Okay, and then we are going to turn our work again 180 degrees, right? So now this is the state of my knitting, and this way. This is the state of my knitting. My yarns are that way. I'm going to turn it 180 degree again, right? And I'm going to try to push this top needle inside, right? Let's see how far I can go. I'm going to push this top needle inside. I'm pushing this top needle inside. It won't go any farther, so I'm just going to pull the second bottom needle out gently. And this can be a bit fiddly in the beginning, but as you knit through the project, it's going to get easier. So I'm going to just ease this through and pull out the bottom needle and put in the top needle. Alrighty, so after pulling this bottom needle down, outside and then putting the top needle inside, we're going to try to do the second half of our first round. So in order to do that, I'm going to drop this first slip knot that I had made, okay, and keep that yarn over there, secure it with my index finger of the left hand, and then bring this ball end of the yarn under, put my needle through as if to knit in the first space, and since I've brought that ball end from under, I can start knitting, right? So that's my first stitch, and I'm going to continue knitting all the remainder 11 stitches. So I will have 12 stitches on the top needle for this colorway and 12 stitches on the bottom needle, right? So that will complete my first round. Don't be afraid, this can be a bit fiddly in the beginning, but once you have practiced with a few pairs, it will be very comfortable and the easiest technique you can do 2 at a time socks. So that's my first sock, first round complete, and now I'm going to pull that short end of the tail and open and release that slip knot. So that end will help us secure the toe when we are finished with knitting the socks. So now the first one is done. I'm going to push it a little back and leave that working yarn, and then I'm going to pick up the working yarn from the second pair, the second sock, bring it through the bottom, drop that top slip knot that we had. I'm going to drop that, leave it like that, and then start knitting from the next stitch, okay? So being sure not to split my yarn while I'm doing so. Okay. So that is stitch number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on till the end. From here on, our first round will be complete, and we can go ahead and follow the instructions in the pattern to complete our socks. So this is just a short demonstration of how I start my 2 at a time socks from the toe up when I'm doing them on the single long cord magic loop. So I managed to split this last stitch, so I'm going to fix that. Okay, and there we go. So that's my first round. I'm going to pull that short tail end and release that slip knot, and again next round will start in the same way, turning 180 degrees, putting the top needle in the bottom and the bottom needle out. So I'm going to put the top needle in slowly and pull the bottom needle out to start knitting my round 2 and follow the pattern. So I hope this demonstration was helpful to you, and if you like it, please like, share and subscribe to my channel, and like this video, give me a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments if you want me to demonstrate any other techniques for knitting or crochet. Thanks a lot. Take care.